right, let's go ahead and open up with a prayer. All brothers remove their head coverings. All sisters pray with the heads covered. And we face the east towards Jerusalem. Abba Father, Yahweh, Elohim, the Allah of Abraham, Yachak, and Yaakov. Covenant Father, Elohim of Yasharal, we thank you, Yahweh, once again for bringing us into another new year, Yahweh, for taking us through another opportunity to repent into 2018, Yah. Yah, we thank you for all the blessings you've given us throughout the years. We thank you for all the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding you've allowed us to acquire throughout the year, Yahweh. And we ask that you allow us, Yahweh, to please be forgiven of the sins and trespasses that we've done in the previous year. Please give us the eyes to see the changes that we need to make in our lives, Yahweh, and the changes that we need to make in each other, Yahweh, so that we can work together, Yahweh, to be as one nation, Yahweh. Glory unto you here on this earth as your chosen nation of people, Yah. Yah, we ask, Yah, that all the sick, all those that were not able to make it, Yahweh, that you remember them, Yahweh, and have mercy on them, Yah. We ask also all our sick and elderly, Yah, that suffer throughout this year, that have made it into the new year, Yahweh, that if it be your will, Yahweh, that you provide some sort of comfort unto them, Yahweh, so that they can continue to endure the trials that they go through in their lives as well. Yahweh, we also pray for all the elders, Yah, that you also allow them to have the strength to continue as our examples, as our leaders, Yahweh, and to endure through the trials and tribulations that they face in their lives, Yahweh. We also ask that you also expedite Yahweh, their eyesight, Yahweh, to deal with the things that they need to deal with in their time frame, Yahweh, all according to your will. Yahweh, and the young brothers, Yahweh, we thank you, Yah, for providing a spirit in the young brothers to want to go after this word, Yahweh, to seek to go further than their elders, Yahweh. And we thankful, Yahweh, for the young brothers, and we ask that you guide them, protect them, Yahweh, and always provide a counsel, Yahweh, a plentiful amount of counsel for young brothers that are willing to listen, Yahweh, and learn and repent and move in the right direction, Yah. And Yah, lastly, Yah, we ask that you please, once again, remember all those brothers and sisters that could not make it, Yahweh, but want to join us in spirit, Yahweh, across the corner, Yahweh, that all go to serve you in your days according to your calendar to the best of their understanding, Yah. Yah, all these things we humbly come before you, and we thank and pray. We make no demands, Yahweh, but we thank you and we glorify and we honor you, Yahweh, on this day through your holy, humble, anointed Son, Yahshua HaMashiach. Amen. Amen. Yeah, you gotta kind of sit catacomb on it. That's cool. All right. Shalom, or Hagag Rosh Hashanah, which is a joyful new year. My name is Yedan Yasharal, my brother Yonatan Yasharal. Shalom. Shalom. It is the first day of the new year. Is Rosh Hashanah is also a Rosh Chodesh, which is a new month. This is our New Year's. We understand that the year does not start in the wintertime. It starts in the spring, and the definition of spring is when your day is springing longer than your night. It's longer than your night. So today, the night is going to be a little bit shorter than the day, starting with this first day of the new month of Abib. So we're going to go into a short study, and then we are going to feast and enjoy because it is our New Year, it's our celebration. So we're going to first open up in Shemot chapter 12, Exodus chapter 12. And Rosh Hashanah is not a Shabbaton, so I mean you don't have to take the day off. You're permitted to work, but it is a Rosh Hashanah. It is a set apart day. It is a Muad'Dim. It is a required day for us to come together and read out of the script and Mikra. Exodus. Shema. Chapter 12. And we're going to start that at verse 1.
All right. And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe and Aaron in the land of Mitzrayim, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak you unto all the congregation of Yasharal, saying, In the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for a house. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. You shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats. And you shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Yasharal shall kill it in the evening. And they shall take of the blood and strike it on the 2 side posts and the upper doorposts of the houses wherein they shall eat it.
All right, so immediately you see here that this is the month shall be unto you the beginning of months. And he's telling you what happens in this month, which is the Passover, the Pesach, the 14th day of the same month. Go ahead.
Did you give the title of the class?
Yeah, I'm sorry. The title of today's class is Returning to the Kingdom. Returning to the Kingdom. And it's Rosh Hashanah 2018. Hebrew New Year.
Verse 7. And they shall take of the blood and strike it on the 2 side posts and on the upper door posts of the houses wherein they shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it.
So they shall eat the flesh in that night. So this is 8 in the nighttime. Go ahead.
Eat not of it raw, nor sodden at all with water, but roast with fire his head with his legs, and with the pertinence thereof.
Now, that's one thing that, Israel is known for is we barbecue. So this is a commandment. Go ahead.
And you shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remains of it until the morning you shall burn with fire. And thus shall you eat it, with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand. And you shall eat it in haste. It is Yahweh's Passover. For I will pass through the land of Mitzrayim this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Mitzrayim I will execute judgment. I am Yahweh. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where you are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you, when I smite the land of Mitzrayim. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and you shall keep it a feast to Yahweh throughout your generations. You shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. 7 days shall you eat unleavened bread. Even the first day you shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eats leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Yasharal. And in the first day there shall be a holy convocation, and in the 7th day there shall be a holy convocation to you. No manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you.
All right, so this is talking about after your Passover, which is considered like the preparation day. Then the 15th is the Shabbaton, which is the first day of unleavened bread, the Feast of Unleavened Bread. That's the Shabbaton, which means it's treated as a Sabbath. It is a rest day. And then on the 21st day, which is the 7th day of unleavened bread, you have another Shabbaton, which is also another day treated as a Sabbath. Go ahead, brother.
It was verse 16.
Mm-hmm.
And in the first day there shall be a holy convocation, and in the 7th day there shall be a holy convocation to you. No manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you. And you shall observe the feast of unleavened bread. For in this selfsame day have I brought your armies out of the land of Mitzrayim. Therefore you shall observe this day in your generations by an ordinance forever.
So you shall observe this day in your generations by ordinance forever. So we observe this. Go ahead.
In the first month, on the 14th day of the month at even, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at even. 7 days shall there be no leaven found in your houses. For whosoever eats that which is leavened, even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Yasharal, whether he be stranger or born in the land.
All right, so during the 7 days of unleavened bread, we remove the leaven from our houses. Leaven is the agents that cause something to puff up, to rise up. If you are unsure of what has leaven in it, you can go to IsraeliteGathering.com and you can go to the print section, and there's the Feast of Unleavened Bread pamphlet will show about all the different types of leaven, the chemical leavening. It's not as easy as looking for just yeast or sodium or whatever. You got to look at certain chemicals, and the chemical names are there that you have to look in the ingredients of all your food. They put leaven in everything. They put leaven in salad dressing. I mean, you'd be surprised the different things they put leaven in. So we have a whole sheet which breaks down all the different things you have to remove from your house for the 7 days of unleavened bread, starting the 15th day of Abib, with today being the first day. So you have to remove these things, and the removing of the leaven is to symbolize the removing of the sin within us, for us to look for the things that are within us that are causing us to puff up and not be glorious unto the Most High. We're to work to remove those things in the 7 days of unleavened bread.
Would you also let a little brother not to get himself in a tizzy, because even leaven's in the air. They need to understand to try to get the leaven, as much leaven out of their house, because they know what they should, they're cooking with, what's in their house.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you clean up your house the best that you can, from top to bottom,
Right.
and all that you have. And then, if you've done what you've done, you're finished,
Right.
because you can't get all the leaven out of everywhere, but you know how
Right.
much work you've done to get it out of your house.
Right. Yes, definitely. You want to make sure you do the best that you can to clean your house and to keep things in order and removing the leaven out your house. But the focus is supposed to be on moving the leaven within your heart. Saul says, keep the feast with unleavened bread, without having the leaven of bitterness, of sin within you. So that should definitely be the focus. But the elder's absolutely right. No matter how hard you try to clean your house or remove or vacuum your car, there's going to be some kind of leaven in there. And that's what's left to grace. And that's what we would hope that and believe, that when we have to see eye to eye with the Mashiach, he can fill that gap, because we did everything we could. We looked everywhere and found everything that we could. And the rest is on him, kind of like the thorn that Saul has in his side.
Go Verse 20. You shall eat nothing leavened, in all your habitations shall you eat unleavened bread. Then Moshe called for all the elders of Yasharal and said unto them, draw out and take you a lamb according to your families, and kill the Passover. And you shall take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the two side posts with blood that is in the basin. And none of you shall go out at the door of his house until the morning. For Yahweh will pass through to smite the Mitzrites, and when he sees the blood upon the lintel and on the two side posts, Yahweh will pass over the door, and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your houses to smite you. And you shall observe this thing for an ordinance to you and your sons forever. And it shall come to pass, when you be come to the land which Yahweh will give you, according as he has promised, that you shall keep this service. And it shall come to pass, when your children shall say unto you, what mean you by this service? That you shall say, it is the sacrifice of Yahweh's Passover, who passed over the houses of the children of Yasharal and Mitzrayim, when he smote the Mitzrites, and delivered our houses. And the people bowed the head and worshipped. And the children of Yasharal went away and did as Yahweh had commanded Moshe and Aaron, so did they. And it came to pass that at midnight Yahweh smote all the firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne unto the firstborn of the captive that was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of cattle. And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants, and all the Mitzrites, and there was a great cry in Mitzrayim, for there was not a house where there was not one dead. And he called for Moshe and Aaron by night and said, Rise up and get you forth from among my people, both you and the children of Yasharal, and go, serve Yahweh as you have said. Also take your flocks and your herds as you have said, and be gone, and bless me also.
All right, so he said also, you're right, bless me on the way out. And he called for Moshe and Aaron by night. So this is the night of the 15th. They got kicked out on the 15th. So this also shows you that the day starts at night, because if they got kicked out by night and they left in the 15th, then that shows you when a day starts. Go ahead.
Wait, I got one question about verse 23. So, what do they mean by the destroyer?
The destroyer is a destroying angel, a spirit. They actually had a name for that. What
was Mastema?
Mastema
Was the spirit that was released upon the people.
Right, it's a destroying spirit that came through and killed all the firstborns.
I have something to say on that too. I didn't call in, but I just wanted to get it. This might be a little deeper, but Yahweh gave me this golden nugget on another area, but it seems like I can expound on it right here, which is dealing with what the people didn't realize is that they were being tested, and because I believe they followed the test to the letter, is because Yahweh said, "I'm gonna kill you if you walk out that house." You understand? I'm stating it straight up. You know, he's saying, "Hey, this is gonna happen to people who does not obey my command, and I'm giving you a chance to live." Okay, but we know that the Israelites will not follow my command, and I told them to let you go so you can come and serve me on my mount. So because Yahweh is going to pass over his own people, okay, because they're going to be obedient unto him by following the directions with the lamb and with the bitter herbs and staying inside their house, not venturing outside. You understand? Yahweh gonna stay the plague from them, stay dead from them. But yet, the people who did not believe in him, the people which did cause his people to stumble or keep his people from not being free, the plague is going to become on them. Judgment resides on them. And he's dealing with not all of them, but the firstborn. You know, and where we believe the firstborn is the one who received the inheritance. Just like Pharaoh's first son would usually receive the kingdom after he's died.
Right.
He becomes king, Pharaoh. So if you look at it, they don't even realize that they, at this time, that they're keeping Yahweh's laws in also Revelations at the end times. Because if you think about it, if you step outside, that is your end time.
Right.
But the end times talk about in chapter 3, Revelation chapter 3, verse 10, it says, because thou hast kept my word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. And they also reference in Psalms 145, which is dealing with 19 and 20. But what he's trying to tell them is that because you kept, you was obedient unto my command, because when he talk about patience, you've kept my ordinances, you kept my statutes, you kept my judgments, you kept my commandments. And because you have done this thing, you was obedient unto me, so I will not allow the tempter to tempt you in that time where you're going to perish. So these brothers and sisters out there are not going to be tempted to step their foot outside the door to see the angel that's coming, the destroyer that's coming into the street. Because if you did that, then you was tempted on your own and you went outside and you died for it. You was judged for it. So that's one way Yahweh is telling you that he will keep his promise. He will keep his covenants unto his children and any who believe in him and follow his laws. So I wanted to bring that point up because that's very special. You know, and I studied that the other day. It came to me in dealing with Psalms 145:19. It said, he will fulfill the desires of them that fear him, who reverence him. So their desires was not to die and to be free, you know?
Right. So
that is what's going to happen. He also will hear their cries and will save them. That's what he did to our brothers and sisters and our fathers in Israel. The Psalms 145:20 says, Yahweh preserveth all them that love him, but all the wicked will he destroy. And you proved that you was in love with Yahweh at that time because you obeyed him. But the wicked around you was destroyed.
Right. Praise Yah. And shalom, Sister Ariel Smith. Shalom, Sister Tanya and Brother Isaiah. Happy New Year. Shalom, Brother Robert McCall. And shalom, Brother Yehuda Yisrael. Happy New Year, brother. Good to see y'all. And yeah, and that was a very great point, Elder, because at the end of the day, it was all about obedience. You had to follow things to a T, and it was about timing. It wasn't about when you wanted to do it. Right. It was specifically done a specific way. You had to have the lamb killed right before it became the 15th, and then you had to eat the lamb on the 15th, and it had to be in the nighttime, and it had to be in haste because Pharaoh came and grabbed them that night.
That's right.
Because if it would have been another night, it would have went into the 16th.
That's right.
You know, so Pharaoh had to grab them, and they had to finish all that and get in the house because, like you said, if they were caught outside, that's it.
Yeah, you done.
You know, or if they left some of that stuff to the morning or whatever, you didn't follow the ordinance. So it's different, and it's easier for us to follow commandments when we see that it's death, like we gonna die right away. Then we follow the commandments that way. But it's more difficult for us to follow it because we don't see the death right away, and then we're seeing other people do the same thing, quite similar how Adam saw Hawa, Eve, how she ate of the fruit and she didn't die right away, and we think because, well, he didn't just perish like in the movies right away as soon as you eat poison or something, that we didn't die, but death was now entered into the world because of that. And it's the same thing in our lives with these sins.
Exodus Shemot chapter 12 and verse 33. And the Mitzrites were urgent upon the people that they might send them out of the land in haste. For they said, we be all dead men. And the people took their dough before it was leavened, their kneading troughs being bound up in their clothes upon their shoulders. And the children of Yasharal did according to the word of Moshe. And they borrowed of the Mitzrites jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment. And Yahweh gave the people favor in the sight of the Mitzrites, so that they lent unto them such things as they required, and they spoiled the Mitzrites.
And that's in the Ippur papyrus, right? Where an Egyptian scribe or writer or whatever wrote the account of these people coming in the land and tearing up the place, and the rivers being turned to blood, and taking of all the gold and jewels, and I think they even said Semites, didn't they?
I'm not entirely sure, but I do know that they give like sporadic accounts of like the place going black, can't see. Right.
And it's given all these different accounts, and it's being done by a Mizrite, an Egyptian. It's not being told from our perspective.
Verse 37. And the children of Yasharal journeyed from Ramses to Sukkot, about 600,000 on foot that were men beside children. And a mixed multitude went up also with them, and flocks and herds, even very much cattle.
Look up that word for mixed multitude.
I have mixed Arab? Is 6154, multitude is 7227. 6154. $61.54 is Arab, which means
Arab or Arab.
Arab,
like
this one says E. The web of transfers as of clause, a mixture, Arabia, mingled people, mixed
Arabian, right? Arabian. So the Arabian people.
And then for multitude is 7227. And that is Rab. By contracted form, Rabab, abundant in quality, size, age, number, rank, quality, and abound, abundance, abundantly, right. Captain, elder, enough, exceedingly full, greatly, increase, long enough, do have manifold things, time, shipmaster, mighty, more, too much, much, multitude, officer, oftentimes plenteous, populous, prince, process of time, sufficient.
Okay.
So a mixed, great number of people. Verse 39. And they baked unleavened cakes of the dough which they brought forth out of Mitzrayim, for it was not leavened, because they were thrust out of Mitzrayim and could not tarry, neither had they prepared for themselves any victual. Now the sojourning of the children of Yasharal who dwelt in Mitzrayim was 430 years.
So they were in there for 430 years. That's how long they sojourned. But they weren't in captivity for 430 years. Or 400 years for the matter. It was only like what, 200 something years or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, so
210.
yeah. So she said 210.
Yeah.
So it's a certain amount of time they were in there. So that can't fit the 400 years of oppression. Go ahead.
And it came to pass at the end of the 430 years, even the selfsame day, it came to pass that all the hosts of Yahweh went out from the land of Mitzrayim. It is a night to be much observed unto Yahweh for bringing them out from the land of Mitzrayim. This is that night of Yahweh to be observed of all the children of Yasharal in their generations.
All right. So it is a night to be much observed. So they're letting you know that the Passover is on a specific yom, but then it also says that it's the night to be observed. Go ahead.
And Yahweh said unto Moshe and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof. But every man's servant that is bought for money, when you have circumcised him, then shall he eat thereof. A foreigner and a hired servant shall not eat thereof. In one house it shall be eaten. You shall not carry forth aught of the flesh abroad out of the house, neither shall you break a bone thereof. And all the congregation of Yasharal shall keep it. And when a stranger shall sojourn with you, and will keep the Passover to Yahweh, let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near and keep it. And he shall be as one that is born in the land, for no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. One law shall be to him that is homeborn, and unto the stranger that sojourns among you. Thus did all the children of Yasharal, as Yahweh commanded Moshe and Aaron, so did they. And it came to pass the selfsame day that Yahweh did bring the children of Yasharal out of the land of Mitzrayim by their armies.
All right, so that's the story of us being removed out of Mizraim. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 23. So this is how we know Yah all the way to this time. Jeremiah chapter 23. We know Yahweh this way. Yahweh that freed our forefathers out of bondage, the land of bondage, and brought us into our land. So prophet Jeremiah is going to tell us how we are going to know Yah, that we are no longer going to know him as that Elohim. We will know him as a different Elohim that is returning us into our kingdom.
Let me ask you a question on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yahweh is saying that, you know, he gives directive on how foreigners and slaves and so forth are allowed to take the Passover. And which one is coupled with the women? Because they said how the men are supposed to be circumcised before they can take the Passover. And women, they fall into that line by, you're not talking about baptism here. You're talking about circumcision of the heart and circumcision of the flesh for men.
Mm-hmm.
Circumcision of the heart has to be also for the woman.
Mm-hmm.
She has to realize what she's about to take.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so her heart has to know that when she does this, she's abiding by Yahweh's commandments, statutes, and judgments. And
That is the circumcision of the heart.
It is
Right.
the circumcision of the heart.
Right.
Not to turn away from it once they do this thing.
Mhm.
So they need to be told what they're about to do, not just walk up there because everybody else is doing it.
Right. Right.
So,
You know, what makes you a stranger? That's what you have to ask, because we are, none of us was born in Israel. We captives. We over here, you know, we born in different slave ports.
yeah.
You know, so what makes you part of the body? What makes you family? And it's not just an association, but also then once you become part of the family, what makes you stay part of the family?
Yeah.
Is the keeping of these commandments, the circumcision of the heart. That's a constant process. That's not something that, you know, like a male goes through physically where he just cuts the foreskin and he's done. This is a process that has to be undone because of all the layers and layers of rock and stone that's been piled in our hearts from our own mistakes and poor upbringing.
That's right. And I think you're gonna read Corinthians chapter 11, right? Why are you supposed
not
taking
today.
this Passover? Okay.
I mean, yeah, we're going to go into the Passover class. So when we get into the Passover, we're going to go through not only how to keep the Passover, but the spiritual significance of Passover.
Okay.
And unleavened bread, first fruits, all those.
Jeremiah chapter 23 and verse 1. Woe be unto the pastors that destroy and scatter the sheep of my pasture, says Yahweh. Therefore, thus says Yahweh Elohim of Yasharal against the pastors that feed my people. You have scattered my flock and driven them away and have not visited them. Behold, I will visit upon you the evil of your doings, says Yahweh.
So they have scattered the flock. And how you scatter the flock is when you push the people you're responsible for further away from Yahweh. And you do that. And Jeremiah also says it's your sin that separates you from your father. So when you push people to sin and you push them further away from Yah, you scattering your pastor. And then you're not going after them to say, hey, listen, I made a mistake. I told you the law was nailed to the cross. That's untrue. You have to keep Yahshua said we have to keep these commandments. But instead, they pray, they push them further away and just make money off of them.
It's very important right there. Very important.
Verse 3. And I will gather the remnant of my flock out of all countries where I have driven them, and will bring them again to their folds, and they shall be fruitful and increase.
But Yah said he will gather the remnant of his flock. So everybody that got scattered away doesn't necessarily mean that they are falling away from grace and they're just, destined for the lake of fire. It's different people in different times. But at the end of the day, it's he who endures, not the first layer that realizes, hey, we're going the wrong direction. That don't mean that they're going to head the right direction or end up in the right place. But his remnant out of his flock, out of all the countries where he's driven them, that's who he's going to go for and bring back. So the remnant of people that have been scattered and realize, wait a minute, something's not right here. We are moving further away from the Most High and seek to go towards him. He's going to gather those people and bring them back.
Verse 4. And I will set up shepherds over them which shall feed them, and they shall fear no more, nor be dismayed, neither shall they be lacking, says Yahweh. Behold, the days come, says Yahweh, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch, and a king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. In his days Yehudah shall be saved, and Yasharal shall dwell safely, and this is the name whereby he shall be called, Yahweh our righteousness. Therefore, behold, the days come, says Yahweh, that they shall no more say, Yahweh lives, which brought up the children of Yasharal out of the land of Mitzrayim. But Yahweh lives, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Yasharal out of the north country, and from all the countries where I had driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land.
All right, so we shall no longer just know him by Yahweh that freed us out of Mizraim, but Yahweh that brought us back into our land and took us back from captivity and the dispersal that we were in. Let's go to Daniel chapter 7. Daniel chapter 7, we're going to read verses 13 through 28. And shalom, Sister Sharon Pinky. Good to see you.
Daniel chapter 7 and verse 13. I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nation, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit, in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. I came near unto one of them that stood by, and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me, and made me know the interpretations of the things. These great beasts, which are four kings which shall arise out of the earth. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom, and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever.
All right, so you have the literal, when you're dealing with prophecy, the literal fulfillment of the prophecy. Then you have the spiritual fulfillment of the prophecy. So when it's talking about the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom, we're going to physically have to take the kingdom. They're not going to just hand this over to us. We're going to have to take that kingdom. But before we could even get into a position to go down to the land and take the kingdom to a people that are heavily protected with nuclear weapons and all types of superpowers that have been national superpowers who have set them up, we have to take the kingdom in us first. We got to take the New Jerusalem back first, which means us take back our vessels and control the spirit of the Most High and keep it within us, so that we could be a vessel that the Most High can use to go into there and take the kingdom. We're not going to sit here and train with guns or train in combat and fighting and think that we're just going to go over there and just take a kingdom. There's a spiritual training that has to go on to get our vessels in a way that the angel can fight for us and be in front of us, so that we can be part of fulfilling Yah's prophecy and glorifying him.
Verse 19. Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast, which was diverse from all the others, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, and his nails of brass, which devoured, brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes, and a mouth that spoke very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows, I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints, and prevailed against them, until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High, and the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and tread it down, and break it in pieces. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall arise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a times, and a dividing of time.
All right, so it's prophesied that they would try to change these times. They just had, what was it, daylight savings or something? I don't understand how that's saving any daylight, but they're constantly changing things. They got us in the year where we're using 2018 because that's the best calculation we have. We don't know anything better than that. But praise Yah, we at least know that the year don't start in Janus or January. At least we know that. But this is their trick. They try to change the times and the dates and things of that nature. Pope Gregory, he changed the date and added an extra week or something like that into there. But at the end of the day, what they did not do is add an extra day in the week. They didn't take away from the days of the week, or they didn't add an extra day of the week. They just added to the month. So the 7-day cycle always continued. Go ahead and finish it up, Art.
Verse 26. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion, to consume and to destroy it unto the end. And the kingdom and dominion of the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. Hitherto is the end of the matter. As for me, Daniel, my cogitations much troubled me, and my countenance changed in me, but I kept the matter in my heart.
So this servant is given a far off prophecy that he wasn't going to live to see. And your job was just to record this and say it, and so that it could be on record, so that this could be fulfilled, so that a lost people could come back hundreds, thousands of years later and look at this and say, wow, this was fulfilled. Mm-hmm. Oh, this means this means that. And look, and here's the next thing. And Daniel has another one where he talks about, him dealing with the Prince of Persia. And then after that, here comes the prince of Grecia, showing you which kingdom was going to come in and which kingdom was going to come next. So he had no idea what he was dealing with. So the same thing is in our lives. We go through things and we do certain things, but we don't understand the effect that we might have on the future. It's not for us to know. 1 Corinthians chapter 13. So we had our infancy with the law. Our forefathers receiving the covenant in the wilderness and trying to walk according to that and making mistakes. And then we had the age of the Mashiach coming in and showing us how to walk according to the letter of the law and the spirit of the law in perfect accordance. So once you go through that and you have the opportunity to see both sides, the Old Testament and the New Testament, and see the benefit of the disciples and apostles and all the additional inspired information we have, we should no longer be falling in the same exact manner that our forefathers fell in. 1 Corinthians chapter 13. When we become adults, we put away childish things. So for us to enter back into that kingdom, we got to put away the Babylon ways that we learned.
First Corinthians chapter 13 and verse 1. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have not charity, love, I am become as a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains and have not charity, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not charity, it profits me nothing. Charity, love, suffers long and is kind. Love envies not. Love vaunts not itself, is not puffed up, does not behave itself unseemly, seeks not her own, is not easily provoked, thinks no evil, rejoices not in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Charity never fails, but whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part.
So this is one thing that we should always keep in understanding when we're studying and when we're presenting information and when we're receiving information. We know in part and we prophesy in part. So that should always keep us in a humble manner where we understand we might not always be right. We have to be open to be proven wrong and looking at information to help us ensure that we're on the right path.
Verse 10. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. When I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know even also as I am known. And now abides faith, hope, love. But these three, but the greatest of these is love.
Is love, because love covers a multitude of sins. All right, let's go to Galatians chapter 4. Galatians, just another couple books down.
Just want to let everybody know that because you read these perfect verses right here doesn't mean we all there.
No, we definitely not.
But we actually do, like you just said, we have to strive to keep ourselves open so when we make a mistake and our mistake is shown to us, we can repent. Think about it and repent. Because who we follow? We have to follow the fall.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if he tells us this is what we got to do, we
Right.
have to do it. You know?
And Yah leads a man to repentance. So you can talk to somebody all you want until Yah's leading them unto repentance. And what folks will believe is that Yah going to just come to you in your own mind and talk to you and try to cause you to repent. No, he's going to do like he's done since the beginning of time. He's going to send his servants.
Yep.
His servants to come talk to you, and they're going to talk to you the same manner they talk to everybody else. They're going to talk to you according to the law. So you have to be in a place where you have made your heart is soft enough where you have made a decision that I'm going to deal with this law. I'm going to deal with these commandments as my basis. It said the law is a lamp, is a light, you know, and the commandments are what?
The law is a lamp, the commandments are light, or something to that
right.
extent.
So they work together. It's not just all end all be all. It works with the commandment and then also the law, the spirit of that law. But you got to be first at least willing to say, okay, what does the letter of the law say? But we won't even get to that point, to the letter of the law, because we have been trained and we have been shown to do what makes us feel comfortable, or what's accepted by either the group that we're with or what I've got away with, or whatever the case may be. And again, it's such a difficult process that Yah gives you a lifetime to get this together. Because if it was so easy, everybody would just be there. Because it's easy to look at everybody else because our eyes go out that way. But the hardest thing is to look inside, the things that are so ugly we don't want to look at. And that takes time. And that's why we have to be patient with one another. We have to be merciful. We have to keep the commandment, rebuke your brother. But at the end of the day, we can't be judging nobody, because if that person's still alive, the Most High could lead that person to repentance at any given moment. And thank goodness we not the ones judging. Because we're not fit to judge. We can't even judge ourselves properly. We so busy wagging a finger at people, yet our garments are spotted. That lets you know we're not ready to judge. So praise Yah for his mercy that he's given us this time. He's given us the right people around us. Because you could be around a bunch of people that's filthy as ever, that will never say nothing to you. And then you keep us one Sabbath day and you feel like you okay. And you might be in, your job got you far out, and that's all the people you exposed to. So the Most High, it's no coincidence that he's led you to where you are, allowed you to access what you can access, and put that fire up under you to start to move towards change.
Galatians chapter 4 and verse 1. Now I say that the heir is, as long as he is a child, differs nothing from a servant, though he be owner of all, but is under tutors and governors until the time appointed of the Father.
All right, so we are the heirs. And while we are children, still acting like children, we differ nothing from a servant. We need to learn how to serve. We need to learn how to follow instructions. We need to learn how to be led. And how we need to learn how to be led is be led of the Spirit. But first, we got to learn the commandments so we can know how to be led and who's leading us.
Verse 3, even so we, when we were children, were in bondage under the elements of the world. But when the fullness of time was come, Yahweh sent forth his Son, made of a woman, made under the law, to redeem them that were under the law, that we might receive the adoption of sons. And because you are sons, Yahweh has sent forth the Spirit of his Son into your hearts, crying, Abba, Father. Wherefore you are no more a servant, but a son. And if a son, then an heir of Yahweh through Mashiach. Howbeit then, when you knew not Yahweh, you did service unto them which by nature are no gods. But now, after that you have known Elohim, or rather are known of Elohim, how turn you again to the weak and beggarly elements whereunto you desire again to be in bondage?
So once you learned that, okay, I was acting as a child, I didn't know any better. I was ignorant. I didn't know that this is how I was supposed to be. How do you go back and return willingly back to those beggarly elements, doing the things that you know did no service to things that are nature or no gods? How can we turn back to that? And it doesn't have to be us just, getting a cross again and putting on a chain or something like that. It's when we decide, we're going to take part in that little pagan practice. It's not that serious, We're going to go to this Christmas party, or we're going to keep Valentine's Day. I know that it doesn't. How can we do that when we know that this is a flame up the nose of the Most High? Go ahead.
Verse 10. You observe days and months and times and years. I am afraid of you, lest I have bestowed upon you labor in vain.
All right. So when he's talking about observing days, months, times, and years, he's talking to the Galatians. He's talking about in Europeans when they were doing these type of things, where they had a little chart with every day of the year and all the stars, and they had a name for everything, for every day of the year, and every day of the year was a god that they would worship, and depending on that day they had to do this or they had to do that. and zodiacs and all this type of stuff, which they made constellations into some kind of gods that controlled their lives in some kind of way. Go ahead.
They also make reference to that in Leviticus chapter 19, verse 26.
Mm-hmm.
So you shall not eat anything with blood, neither shall you use enchantments, nor observe times.
Mm-hmm.
So it is making a point, you know, which back then they knew what times was.
What was that? Leviticus what?
1926.
All right, I want to see that Strong's for
times.
observing times. Leviticus 19
26.
and 26.
I think it's in Deuteronomy too. I'm gonna look for that right quick.
So observed times was Anan, H6049, to cover, use only as the denominative form, to cloud over, to act covertly, that is practice magic, bring enchantment, Meonium, observed time, soothsayer, sorcerer. So you are basically allowing some time or something, if this is actually dealing with time, some kind of time period, to have some kind of magical effect on you. This would be no different than in your birthday, you just ultra good. You just great at everything because it's your birthday. You can't miss the shot. You know, everything's going your way. Like it's some kind of magic because you were born on that day. It's no different. Now, there's nothing wrong with acknowledging and giving thanks unto the Most High, just like on today. It's not a Sabbath day, but we give acknowledging and we give thanks to the Most High that He allowed us to receive another year to repent.
I think they also lead into that Deuteronomy 18, 10 through 16, I believe, or 10 through 15, talking about, well, I'll just go down, I'll jump down to 11. They're talking about for charmers or consultants of familiar spirits or wizards or necromancers. Because they also go up to, you know, dealing with passing your daughter through the fire, you know, use divination, observer of times.
Right.
That's verse 10. Or any enchanter or witch, but he continues on through 11, verse 11, 12, 13. You know, so it's trying to tell you the same thing.
Right.
It's dealing with being a witch, enchanter, dealing with time.
Superstitious.
That's right.
You know, being occult and superstitious and right. Dealing with, insinuating that there's some other kind of force or spirit out there right. That is more powerful than the Most High. That's that right. You can manipulate that over the Most High's will. Right. And that's untrue. There is nothing. Most High allows what He will and won't allow what He won't. And you can dance, put some horns on your head, like I said, you're gonna push right through them, like they told that king. Oh yeah, go push right yeah, you're gonna put these horns, you're gonna push right through. You can do all these song and dance, but at the end of the day, Yah's will is gonna be done, and you ain't gonna change anything about that.
Right.
Galatians chapter 4 and verse 12. Brethren, I beseech you, be as I am. For I am as you are, you have not injured me at all. You know how through infirmity of the flesh I preached the good news unto you at the first. And my temptation, which was in my flesh, you despised not, nor rejected, but received me as an angel of Elohim, even as Mashiach Yeshua.
All right, let's stop right there. Let's go to the conclusion. Let's go to Revelation chapter 21 and let's look at New Jerusalem. I mean, you look at how we do our music and our poetry. When we say things that fit together and make perfect sense literally. But then there's a spiritual, metaphoric feeling behind the writing that we do. And the Most High does the same things with His writing. And that's and as an artist, you do that to get somebody to open up and to think about the topic or the message that you're trying to convey. So you use metaphors to do that, but it makes perfect sense, you know, literally when you read it literally. So we know that that's how we are as a people. So the Most High communicated with us that same way. In Revelation 21, it talks about this New Jerusalem. And a lot of people are expecting to see some, you know, big city coming from the clouds, like, you know, some Harry Potter movie. But there's more spirituality into that when we're being freed from the flesh. And how He's saying this is a number of a man and giving a measurement and doing all these different things to kind of get you to open up and see where that real spirit is.
Revelation chapter 21 and verse 1.
Oh, 21?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was 22. Sorry, my mistake.
And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, Yohanan, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from Elohim out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven, saying, Behold, the tabernacle of Elohim is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and Yahweh himself shall be with them and be their Elohim.
So if he's an invisible Elohim, and he has Yahshua in the flesh when he wants to be in the flesh of Yahshua, but he wants to be here amongst us, so what does he have to change himself into a man or something like that? How does a spirit come amongst and be with all his people? The same way it was supposed to be in the beginning, how the spirit was in us, and there should have been no other spirit. And that's how it will be in this time, because if you go to Revelation 20, you're seeing death and hell thrown in the lake of fire. So you're seeing the adversary being thrown in the lake of fire, all the evil spirits that left their former state, all of them have gone thrown in the lake of fire. So you have nothing but the spirit of Yahweh left. Go ahead.
We are at verse 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of Elohim is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and Yahweh himself shall be with them and be their Elohim. And Elohim shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. And he that sat upon the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, Write, for these words are true and faithful. And he said unto me, It is done. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. He that overcomes shall inherit all things, and I will be his Elohim, and he shall be my son. But the fearful and unbelieving, and the abominable, and murderers, and whoremongers, and sorcerers, and idolaters, and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burns with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. And there came unto me one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials full of the 7 last plagues, and talked with me, saying, Come here, I will show you the bride, the Lamb's wife. And he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me that great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from Elohim, having the glory of Elohim, and her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal, and had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates, and at the gates 12 angels, and names written thereon, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Yasharal.
So you have 12 doors, and over the doors are a name. If your name ain't on any of those doors, and there's angels protecting those doors, I don't think you want to try to walk through those doors. So those doors are there for a reason, and they have names for a reason. Go ahead.
Verse 13, on the east 3 gates, on the north 3 gates, on the south 3 gates, and on the west 3 gates. And the wall of the city had 12 foundations, and in them the names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. And he that talked with me had a golden reed to measure the city, and the gates thereof, and the wall thereof. And the city lies 4 square, and the length is as large as the breadth. And he measured the city with the reed 12,000 furlongs. The length and breadth and the height of it are equal. And he measured the wall thereof 144 cubits, according to the measure of a man, that is, of the angel. And the building of the wall of it was of jasper, and the city was pure gold, like unto clear glass. And the foundations of the wall of the city were garnished with all manner of precious stones. The first foundation was jasper, the second sapphire, the third chalcedony, the fourth an emerald, the fifth sardonyx, the sixth sardius, the seventh chrysolite, the eighth beryl, the ninth topaz, the 10th chrysoprasus, the 11th a hyacinth, the 12th amethyst. And the 12 gates were 12 pearls. Every several gate was of 1 pearl. And the street of the city was pure gold, as it were transparent glass. And I saw no temple therein, For Yahweh El Shaddai and the Lamb are the temple of it. And the city had no need of the sun, neither of the moon to shine in it, for the glory of Elohim did lighten it, and the Lamb is the light thereof. And the nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it, and the kings of the earth do bring their glory and honor into it.
All right, so they told you there was the 12 gates. The 12 gates had the 12 people over it, the 12 tribes. And now saying the nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it. And the kings of the earth do bring their glory and honor into it. Go ahead.
Verse 27, and there shall in no
25.
wise. Verse 25, and the gates of it shall not be shut at all by day, for there shall be no night there. And they shall bring the glory and honor of the nations into it.
Okay, don't say they gonna bring the nations into it. Let's say they gonna bring the glory and honor of the nations into it. Go ahead.
And there shall in no wise enter into it anything that defiles, neither whatsoever works abomination or makes a lie, but they which are written in the book of the Lamb's book of life.
All right. So you have the children of Yasharah, which took thousands of years to this point, to get to this point, to get into the kingdom and learn how to be transformed and be adopted as sons. They're not just going to take a Gentile and all of a sudden he just snap a finger and he just good. He great. He just walk right in the kingdom. They're going to have to learn how to walk in righteousness as well. So that's all we're going to do today. We want to acknowledge that today is the new year. It is not a Sabbath or a Sabbathon, so we are permitted to work, but it is a Rosh Hashanah, which means we're commanded to come together. We light the candles, we blow the shofars, we do feast, and we enjoy this day because this is our new year. It's also a marker because 14 days from today is Pesach. And Pesach is that preparation day. It's that last day before you get into unleavened bread, which is going to be 7 days where you have to have all of the leaven out of your house. You should have work to remove all the leaven out of your heart the best that you can. And even in that 7-day process, just like if you find a piece of leaven in your house during that 7 day, you don't just lay over there and die. You get rid of the leaven. So it's the same thing with us through those 7 days. If we find other things that we need to work on, we get rid of it. We work on it and get it out. But just like the elder said earlier, no matter how hard you try to remove all this stuff out of your house, there's always going to be a portion that you just can't see. Whether it's in the air that you can't see or it's an event somewhere where you can't see, it's there. So that means we have to work to try to receive grace from the Most High, which means everything that we can access, we give our best attempt to try to remove that leaven. So that's all we're going to do today. Any last questions or comments before we close in prayer?
Oh, one thing on
Here you go.
that. Just trying to spread a little light on something our brother was talking about, that the nations, Revelations, was talking about verse 24, and the nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it. And basically what they was trying to say right here, they went to Isaiah 60 verse 3. And when they're talking about those nations are Gentiles. So they are going to come and walk in life, also the ones that are saved. So, trying to debunk some of those things that they won't have a chance to enter into the kingdom. When Yahweh said that, they're going to grab onto your canaf, onto your skirt, to follow you because the commandments are with you, because you're following the commandments. So, and he also tell you, also thinking when we just left from Galatians chapter 3, I think, in chapter 3, that close to the end of chapter 3, I believe, I remember right, that there will be no difference between the Jew or the Gentile. They will have a chance to enter into the kingdom also. And we just got you reading, where if you go, I think it's in Isaiah 60, and I think another place I can't remember, that we won't be able to it won't be no difference between Jew or Greek, but the Jew is going to get this business first, whether the blessings or the cursings. So the Gentiles got to follow because Yahweh's made his covenants with the Yehudim first, and we have to be the ones that obey the Father, so the rest of the nations can follow us, in that obedience. So I wanted to try and throw some light on that, kind of debunk what some people are saying out there, that the Goyim doesn't have a chance to enter into the kingdom.
That's not true.
That's not true, because it tells you the Old Testament and New Testament.
They have to offer. They have to bring the glory. They have to offer unto the king. How are they gonna offer if they not here?
Yeah, how are they gonna be our servants?
They gonna throw it from the lake of fire?
Just throw the glory from the lake of fire. Take care of you from the lake of fire. That's done. No.
All right, let's go ahead and end in a prayer. Elder Mikael, can you go ahead and close us out? First closing prayer of the new year. All brothers remove their head coverings. All sisters pray with their heads covered. And we face the east towards Jerusalem.
Heavenly Father, Yahweh, most holy and true, coming out of Him, we give you thanks and praise, Father, for allowing us, Father, to make it together, Father, on your new year, Father Yahweh. We give you thanks and praise, Father Yahweh, for allowing us, Father, to be here, Father, to worship you. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this word that you allowed to have, Father Yahweh. We pray this word, Father, we will meditate on this word, Father, that will enter into our hearts, Father Yahweh, to become part of us, Father Yahweh. And let us, Father, see the error of our ways, Father Yahweh. Because this is our new year, Father Yahweh. So we need, Father, to know the error that we have made in the past, Father Yahweh. So we don't continue that, Father Yahweh, but we'll go on new, Father Yahweh. Because we're supposed to renew ourselves, Father, every week, Father Yahweh, hearing your word, Father Yahweh. So I'm not going to get into the pagan belief, Father Yahweh, of the two-headed God Janus, Father Yahweh. We don't follow that, Father Yahweh. So we're supposed to renew ourselves every time, Father Yahweh, hear this word, Father Yahweh. Because we're supposed to continue to meditate, Father, and better ourselves, Father, in obedience toward you, Father Yahweh, to give you glory, Father Yahweh. So we give you thanks and all praise, Father Yahweh, for allowing us, Father Yahweh, to enter into another year, Father Yahweh. And Father, we ask, Father Yahweh, in Yeshua's name, Father, to allow us to continue to see those golden nuggets, Father Yahweh. And allow us, Father, to have our hearts softened by you, Father Yahweh, so we can meld with your word, Father Yahweh. It will be a part of us, Father Yahweh, so we won't turn to the left or to the right, Father Yahweh. One day, Father, we will stand straight up, Father Yahweh, and walk your path, Father, with your power, your strength, Father Yahweh, and all boldness, Father, in Yeshua's holy and mighty name. We thanks and praise. Amen.
Amen.